Well, so it's time for the five. Like we said, we're talking about Kenya's trade performance, and it's all about the import and export trade. And before we get into that, it's important to just get a general picture of where we are and some numbers with respect to the import-export trade in Kenya. So let's take a look at these numbers specifically for the year 2020. And let's start off with exports. So exports out of the country were valued at 642 billion shillings in the year 2020. Now that was a marginal increase from the previous year, 2019, by about 46 billion shillings. So doing a lot better in that. So exports worth 642 billion shillings for the year, but just what were we exporting? Well, our top 5 exports in the year 2020 were tea, horticulture, petroleum re-exports, apparel and clothing accessories, as well as coffee. In fact, tea accounted for 130 billion shillings worth of exports. Horticulture second with 122. Petroleum re-exports were at 43 billion. Clothing and apparel were at 36 billion and coffee at 23 billion shillings. So top 5 exports out of the country in the year 2020. But just where are we exporting to? What are those export markets? We will get to that in a moment. But first, take a look at the imports. So, all right. Oh, let's go back to the export, market. So where are we exporting to? Well, Uganda is our top export destination in the country at 72 billion shillings. And then there's Pakistan, the United Kingdom, the US, and the Netherlands. So let's go to the import market for just a moment. So as you can see, we were importing way more than we were exporting. So 1.645 trillion shillings is the value of total imports in the year 2020. Again, what were we importing? Petroleum products at 234 billion, industrial machinery, road motor vehicles, iron and steel, and interestingly, animal and vegetable fats and oils, which accounted for 92 billion shillings of the imports. What were the source markets for all of these that we are importing? There were China, India, the United Arab Emirates, Japan, and Saudi Arabia. Now, this is what I talked about at the start. Imports versus exports. This is what is known as the balance of trade. We're importing 1.64. That's almost twice as much as what we are exporting. Now, for a country to do much better, you want this to definitely be the reverse. We want to be exporting more than what we are bringing in. So that is what the balance of trade looks like. So with all of these numbers, I know one of the questions you'd be asking yourself is here at the moment, do you want to export? What do you need? Well, Keproba has listed some basic guidelines that you would require for exporting. The legal documentation at setup, you need to, of course, register a company, obtain a PIN number from the Kenya Revenue Authority, obtain a VAT from KRA as well, and you'd also need to set up your business. So it's all of the things about, obtaining a trading place with an address, developing your business cards, and then this is very important, the documentation that you need for export. You need a commercial invoice. You need something that's very important known as a certificate of origin, and this depends, of course, on the country or the region that you are exporting to. It could be COMESA, it could be the European Union, or it could be the US, Japan, Australia. Now, a certificate of origin is obtained from KRA, or the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Also, one important thing is you're looking at marketing, so you need to develop a product catalog. You need to have product labeling. It needs to be clear. And this is another thing about markets. So identifying markets which have a relative advantage. For instance, you might want to make advantage of the trade deal that we have with the United States. That's AGOA, the African Growth and Opportunities Act, that, by the way, I think expires in another 5 years or so. So you want to take a look at some of these markets. Where are they? And in terms of marketing, are you part of international trade fairs? Do you have contacts in those markets? And then pricing of your products and making sure that it is competitive enough. And some people say that to make sure you are making advantage of the pricing is to add value to your goods. Not to worry. This is the 5 things that you need to know when it comes to the import-export trade in the country. But we'll have more with my guests in just a moment. For now, the 5 things you need to know about import-export trade in Kenya.